Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first of what might be many now that we're all in lockdown, Zoom previews. Royal Ascot is the first major festival that we've got in this new behind closed doors environment, and the first time Thurloe venturing into the digital world. Very weird and wonderful times, but thank you to everyone for joining us on Zoom. A couple of housekeeping notes before we get going. We're obviously a week before Royal Ascot, so there's still a bit of water to go under the bridge in terms of the horses definitely running, and obviously the handicaps are the biggest races where horses getting in and not, etc. So we're going to have a real general overview on Royal Ascot, also touch on some of our horses at the end as well. Ask the trainers why they're not at Royal Ascot this year, and there's also the opportunity to ask some questions. Everyone who's on Zoom from Thurloe, you are attendees, so just because we can't see your faces doesn't mean that we can't see you. We can see all your names. If you want to ask a question, there's a Q&A button, so you can press in that, you can type your question, and at the end we will ask the trainers your questions. Also at the end of the preview we'll say goodbye to the trainers, and we can stay on and answer any other questions and have a chat about racing. With all the time.
We'll talk about the trainers after they've gone.
Talk about the trainers after they're gone. And then we can put on the video functions and we can all see each other. But without further ado, I want to welcome the stars of tonight.
All three of them are stars. All three of you ran. I mean, of course, Andrew was obviously again. You're going to have to be the star of the show by winning the guineas. Well done, Andrew. It was great. And then Richard was second in the 1,000 guineas, and Hughie Morrison. What price is it? 200 to 1, Hughie. You're an absolute blinder in the 1,000 guineas to finish, fast finishing fifth. So all three of you had a great guineas couple of days, and obviously, it was great to see our trainers doing so well.
Yeah. So hello to Andrew.
Hi, Jessica.
Hi to Hughie.
Good evening.
And hi to Richard.
Hello, Jessica.
And as Dad was saying, we're going to touch on what was a magnificent weekend for all of our trainers, but in particular for Andrew. A brilliant victory with Cameco, and congratulations for your second classic. How many years? I don't know when you had your first with Casual Look, but your first 2,000 guineas.
And here he is getting up there.
And in interesting circumstances, must have been. But congratulations. And how is he? And are you going to the Derby?
Yeah, look, the horse, it was obviously a big thrill for everyone. To win a guineas, but to do it in a record time for the race, and in good style, and the right horses finishing second and third, it was very satisfying. Even though there was no one really there to share the experience with on race day, but it was a great result for the team, and the horses come out of the race seemingly very well. It's early days still, but I think we'll make a decision at the weekend. But I think the likelihood is we'll try and head towards Epsom.
Brilliant, fantastic, and it looks to me that he's got that speed, but the trip is like the question mark on the trip. But you've got to send a 2,000 guineas winner to the Derby. It seems like the right thing to do.
Yeah, I don't. His speed is on the board. I don't think you need David Redbridge needs to worry about him suddenly becoming. He's got a slow horse. He's won
No, exactly. We've been winding him up about that, but
the score was on the board, and that's the cricketing term is the score is there, and don't muck around with worrying about what the Derby does to you. So it's not a slow. He's not a slap anchor or a reference point. He's a
you're right.
Anyway, end of story. End of that. The other thing is that I do notice you.
We're going to go,
Andrew, very quickly. You got the horse that was second in the Guineas in the Derby trial was one of yours as well, and the horse that beat him is second favourite for the Derby. So you've got a bit of a line there.
Yeah, well, we'll see. The horse that was second in the Derby trial actually probably one of our better chances at Ascot next week. So we'll see how it gets on there.
Okay, interesting. Well, we'll get on to him. And we want to say honourable mention to Richard and to Huey for a wonderful effort in the 1,000 guineas. Cloak of Spirit second, and Ronzi at 200 to 1 in fifth. Great thrill for both of you, Richard. Must have been delighted with her.
Yeah, massive thrill. You know, she ran a hell of a race, didn't know when to lie down, and there's one very well when you look at it like that. It was a race for second, really, wasn't it? But delighted with that.
Brilliant. And Huey, your filly clearly looks like she wants further, but she outran her odds, definitely, anyway.
Yeah, I think to be honest, she'd like a flat track and she just got a bit lost coming down the hill. So, you know, you'd like to think she'll get further, but you wouldn't necessarily guarantee a hard run mile and a quarter she'll get. But we'll be looking in that direction, though. We might go next week.
Not bad for a horse who's bought for 800 guineas. Is that right?
Yeah, no bid. Well, you know, Gordon Watson looked at her as a yearling. That was that.
What?
Gordon Watson.
There
was nothing of her as a yearling, and then within 3 months she grown into a lovely looking filly.
Well, there you are. That's how you can get lucky in this game.
Yeah.
Never despair. Just count on getting lucky.
Brilliant.
Getting lucky.
Well, brilliant weekend, but we're looking ahead now to Royal Ascot. And before we look through the 5 days of mammoth amount of racing, we wanted to touch on what's happened over the last, feels like years, but 11, 12 weeks. We've had a question from Andrew Gosling, syndicate member, that all three of you know very well, who's asked about the lockdown, how it's affected you guys as trainers, and opinions on the Royal Ascot schedule. And I was going to pitch it to you, Huey, on thoughts on the Royal Ascot schedule and whether you would have preferred it to have been a couple of weeks back or later than what we've got, which is essentially only 2 weeks after racing began.
Yeah, I think in the perfect world, most of us would want a bit more of a break from the first weekend racing through to Ascot, especially relating to the Guineas horses and all those other group races. But obviously it's very difficult for Ascot to move its schedule, and that's what we got. That's what we're going to go. We got to go with. And ideally, I think in the perfect world, I'd like to have seen it move to July week, but that's, we've got what we've got, and I don't think we're thrilled. We're actually racing, and we got Ascot to look forward to. That it's going to be very strange. It was extremely strange last Saturday. I'm sure there was one cry of excitement as they went past the line, or two cries of excitement as they went past the line in the Guineas, and the place was empty. It was extraordinary. I'm sure Andrew will agree. There was nobody there to bring the pleasure. But we're racing, and I think the main thing I noticed was when you get excited as the trainer 2 furlongs out in a race, because you can hear the roar of the crowd, and there was no roar of the crowd, and the next thing the race was over. But so perhaps we should have background noise for roar of the crowd like they might do in the football matches.
They should have had the roar from Parkhouse Stables as transmitted to the stands as they were coming into that final furlong. That would have created some atmosphere.
Yeah, there was somebody making a lot of noise. I can't remember his name when it went past the post.
I wonder what.
I don't think it was you, Andrew, was it?
He had such a mask on. You wouldn't have been able to hear him. Anyway,
I was sitting out the back. It definitely wasn't me.
No, it wasn't you. No, I think we know who it was.
And Ascot is such a mammoth stand, and there's so much space to fill. It will be odd not having owners, which is the one sort of losing factor of everything. They're the ones that can't get to the racetrack. But as you said, brilliant to have racing back, and hopefully the aim is that slowly but surely they'll be able to bring owners back to the track. Does anyone know if that's been discussed at a sort of next stage of resumption of racing?
I think Rafe been involved in the resumption committee meetings and everything. I think they have discussed it, obviously, but it's not imminent, as far as I believe.
We'll watch from the comfort of our homes. That's all right. But we've enjoyed it so far, and there's huge amounts of racing to look forward to. So, without further ado, we'll kick off with the Tuesday. So, as we said, it's a very different schedule to Royal Ascot this year. They've added 6 more races. They've changed the programme around to kind of accommodate for the horses potentially running in the Derby. So you'll see that the Ribblesdale and the King Edward VII is earlier on in the week, and then the St James's Palace and the Coronation Stakes, which is usually for the Guineas horses, is later on the week, and also the 2-year-old races are later, so that they can all run and sort of
give them a bigger gap.
Give them a bigger gap. So it's not sort of the race schedule that we'd be used to. Normally we start with the Queen Anne at race 1. That's now race 2. We've got a new Buckingham Palace handicap in.
No, it's not new. Buckingham Palace handicap was I think King was second in it a long time ago. I think it was a 6 furlong handicap. We finished second, didn't we, Huey?
5 furlong.
Was it 5? Was it?
Yeah.
So they've changed it to a 7 furlong version.
But anyway, it's a different distance with the same name.
Interesting. So that's added in. But the Queen Anne is usually the pinnacle on day 1. We're all geared up to talk about King of Change, who is Richard Hannon's flagship horse, and was so breathtakingly brilliant at Champions Day at Ascot at the back end of last year. But Richard, you've decided he's not going, and you're going to wait for him until the second part of the season. Is that right?
Yeah, we did this last year. Decided to give him a break after the Guineas. We were definitely going to go for the lock-in and then maybe Ascot and then wait until the end of the year. So we're just going to wait now until then, and obviously look at the Moulin, the Champion Stakes, and then go on from there. I don't know if we'll be allowed to travel abroad any further than Europe or not.
And with him, does he need a bit of cut in the ground? And that would probably be something that...
Well, he's run very well, Jessica, on fast ground. So it's not essential, but it definitely helps him. We very much want to include those races at the end of the year. And the best way of doing that is by looking after him now and waiting until then.
Well, anyway, Andrew, you've got Box chairman who also wants a bit of cut in the ground, is he not, or is that?
Yeah, he's definitely a horse with a. We have got some rain forecasts this weekend, and usually that first day of Ascot is the best of the ground. So he's a horse probably going to be. What he's done is winning at 1.25 miles, or his listed race win was 1.25 miles. But he ran a couple of very good races in defeat, particularly in the Hampton Court last year. I mean, he's a very smart horse. And this will be a perfect springboard for the rest of the season for him. But, I think he's an unlikely winner, but I could quite see him getting placed.
Yeah, if we got a bit of rain, we could have a little bit of fiver each way, could we?
Yeah, I could see him getting placed. He's going to sharpen up a lot for the run, and he's a horse with a lot of ability. But I think he's one for later in the year. But at the same time, yeah, he's got the ability to go and get placed.
Yeah.
Currently, the favourite for that race for everyone listening is Circus Maximus at 130, and Box chairman's in there 12-1, but a lot of entries and a lot of decisions being made, as we know, with King of Change today. So that could all change.
Circus Maximus coming.
He's now
Pretty grand to enter that race, so it's going to be interesting what is actually entered.
Yeah, Ben Battle's also in that 5-1, but I get the impression, just what I'm reading, that he's also not going to be running. So a lot of things will come out. Also the limitations on horses coming from abroad, and stable staff, etc. So that might mean there's less of the foreign runners that we might be so used to.
Could be.
Looking through the card, there's a mammoth amount of races, we were saying, but Andrew, you noted Papa Power in the King Edward VII is one that you're looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, he's won his last 2 races very easily. He's a son of Nathaniel. He should stay 1.5 miles. He's won his last 2 at 1.25 miles, albeit on the all-weather, but very importantly, he's been working really solid work in the. He would be equivalent mould as Berlin Tango and probably Berkshire Rocco as well, those who've run very well in trials so far. So I think we're around about there to be in the mix for a race like this. But you know, it is an extra 2 furlongs, and that would be the question mark.
Brilliant. And Tuesday in general is it's always well known for the King Stand Stakes to stand out. Huey, you know the race well. Well, we know the race well when we had Baltic King run so well in it when he won the same year in 2006.
Yeah, he needed a gallop, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Kalaki won it.
And Kalaki should have won it. So we know that race well. Batash doesn't have Blue Point running this year, so he's got 1 horse left, one horse missing of note. He's the 15-8 favourite. Thoughts on him and the King Stand, and do you think he's the likely winner?
He's obviously the form horse, but he does throw in a bad one occasionally. And I like all these big races at Ascot. I think we can get some real big surprises throughout the week. You know, Glass Slippers beat him fair and square in France, and what would be Skeptical won well. Was it yesterday or today? Yeah, nice cast off from Godolphin, picked up for 2,800. Perhaps he's another Marquez.
Yeah, he's a really interesting type. He's not wanted by Godolphin. Dennis Hogan bought him at the Doncaster Horses and Training Sales for nothing, and he's just risen up and up. He's now on a mark of 114 and looks a nice thing at 5-1. I think he could give Batash a bit of a scare.
Another value horse that you can get in this game occasionally when you get lucky, and he's one.
And looking through that Tuesday, Richard, any race or any horse that that you're thinking of taking to Tuesday of Royal Ascot?
I think Well Done Fox might have a very good chance in the King Stand. He ran a very good race the other day, drawn outside slightly. He will have improved for that race. He's had the guts of a year off. Few chances. Men.
We just lost you there.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Obviously, we've got the Duke of Cambridge Stakes, Hilton Brook, and the handicap afterwards, a 7 furlong race. We'll have a few in that and a few in the mile.
You said Billiston Brooks going to the Duke of Cambridge Stakes, right?
Yes.
Brilliant. And how is she after her?
She's in great form. She ran a super race the other day, gave away £7 to a very good filly. Yeah. I think that filly goes there to reoppose her, and will be £7 better off. So you'd expect her to run very well.
Yeah, such a good flag bearer.
Was that on the all-weather at Kempton?
Yeah.
That's 4 miles up the road.
Okay, so Billiston Brook, another one for Tuesday, the Duke of Cambridge Stakes. Well,
anything else? Anything here you can add to Tuesday? No.
Not really. The good old Ascot Stakes Fun Mac might turn up for it. I can't remember if it's his 5th or 6th year running he's run at Ascot, but he'd want some rain nowadays. He's fallen down the handicap and have a bit of a chance of his rating, and he actually might get in this year off that rating without any hurdlers coming over from Ireland.
Yeah,
which will throw up some people with back home having a good chance with their hurdlers, I would think.
Yeah, I would imagine Winky Mullins usually likes to throw one in there, but might be of note that if he's not going to do that this year. Okay, so Fun Mac, keep one eye on him if he's going to get to.
He needs some rain though to take part. I think he's pretty.
We're getting some rain on Friday apparently.
Might just get a few thunderstorms. Right, we'll move into Wednesday. Wednesday of Royal Ascot is always the feature race. Always is the Prince of Wales Stakes, and Japan, who was a brilliant 3-year-old last year, is currently the favourite for the Prince of Wales at even money with Betfair. Richard, your old horse Barney Roy, he's behind at 5-1, and Headman's in there at 9-1, whether he runs or not. Barney Roy obviously gave you a great day when he won the St James's Palace Stakes for you. Do you think he'd be able to get it up to Japan?
Oh, I think so, definitely. He's a very good horse on his day. Suit him, suit his action. and he tries very hard. He's a star. He'd have a chance in any race.
Brilliant. So
If he was-
Barney Roy, don't leave Barney Roy out of your play spots.
absolutely. And
Yeah, you'd think, Japan took a while to warm up last year, and you'd think he might take it'd be, even money, as you said, would be short enough, really, wouldn't it? First time out.
yeah,
Barney Roy, he's a very tough
Barney Roy.
chance in any race, and he's tough as boot.
Is Peter Doyle listening? And he is, isn't he? I think he is, yes. He bought him. No, Fox Towels I see into, but I think he's not going to go for that, is he, Andrew?
I think he'll go for the Hampton Court. I'm really pleased with him. I mean, he went for a gout today, actually, Campton. It worked very well. I think he's right back on his game, and wherever we'll go, run well. But I think that obviously the Wolverton is likely to be an easier race, so I think that's where we'll go. But Bangkok might run in the Prince of Wales.
Bangkok might run in the Prince of Wales.
Yeah.
And how's he been?
What price is he?
He's
Not in the betting.
good. He was disappointing in the winter. Things didn't work out, but he's been hugely impressive. He broke the track record at Lingfield the time before. He's a very talented horse on his day. And look, I don't think he'd be winning at Prince of Wales's, but he could pick up some of the places.
Right. Royal Hunt Cup.
And you've got Bell Rock, Andrew, in the Royal Hunt Cup, who
Yeah.
Uzo's in it as well. Now I did watch it. I felt for Uzo the other day when he looked all over the win and you came and mugged him on the line, Andrew, with Bell
Yeah,
Rock. I thought a rather discerning looking look from Richard Hannon as he walked into the second spot as he walked past you. That was about the only bit of interest in the winners' enclosure I saw all day. But Bell Rock was, the further we were going, the better he was going, wasn't he? He'd be suited by the Royal Hunt Cup. Will he get into the Royal Hunt Cup, do you think?
Yeah, well, he should do now. I don't know whether it's really carries a penalty. It's a bit of a bizarre.
You'll get a penalty, of course, yeah.
So he should get in. And I think the race should come out of the race well. I think it's made for him. But we've got these problems. If they run well, only this weekend, there is every chance that they could bounce next week. So it's really tricky to know quite how they're going to run off the back of a good run.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, with Uzo, who he still has something left to give, and Royal Hunt Cup set himself up quite nicely for the Royal Hunt Cup for you, then, Richard.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he'll get into the main race. He probably would. I think this year he'll struggle, but I think we have a Silver Cup.
We do at the top of the day, yeah.
Yeah, so he would have a very good chance in that. He doesn't get a penalty, unlike Andrew's horse.
Yeah.
And the handicap, because it was on a Sunday, he can't get them after the race date. So he would have a great chance, whichever one he gets in. I'll be surprised if he gets in the main race. We've got another horse there called Motakael, Brian Epstein that ran today. So we've got a few chances there. Hopefully we'll get a couple.
Brian Epstein.
Brilliant. Yeah, we saw Brian Epstein ran second today, ran well nicely again. So it'll be a case of throwing them all in and seeing, a lot of horses will go in, will try and have a crack at it without having a run necessarily. And some are trying to build up their handicap mark to get in. So it's a case of seeing what gets in. And that's hence why they've had this extra silver Royal Hunt Cup, and there's a silver Wokingham for those that aren't so lucky to get into the main feature races.
I think it'll be hard to get into this year.
Right, okay. Windsor Castle. Tactical. Is Tactical due to go to there, Andrew, or not?
Yeah, well, look, he's got choice of the three races, really. He ran a good race first time out. I think he'll sharpen up for that. So really, it's going to be a question of probably run for what we think is the easier race. But the difficulty is with this 72-hour declaration, how the hell we're ever going to be able to compare races. Obviously we're going to have to commit early before you've seen your alternatives. But historically, the Windsor Castle, I think, is easier than the Coventry. So I think that's probably where we'll end up going.
Well, it's owned by the Queen, Tactical, everybody, and so and as she's locked down in Windsor Castle, it's probably not a bad race for her to win. She can look out of her window and watch it disappearing into the distance. It'd be rather fun, that.
Yeah, he's he's a really smart horse, and I was pleased with the way he ran first time out. I'm really looking forward to running in whatever race we run in.
Good stuff.
Okay.
And anything else from Wednesday that anyone wanted to mention that we haven't covered?
I thought first receiver who won the maiden at Kempton was pretty impressive. If he goes for Hampton Court, I think that's what I read. He'd be pretty good. Another one of Her Majesty's horses, trained by Sir Michael. Thought that was quite impressive.
Yes, I thought he nearly could be a Derby contender after what he did at Kempton. But he could use the Hampton Court as a stepping stone. But very, very impressive victory at Kempton. It's a nice addition. Don't quite have the betting for those races yet at the moment, but first receiver, one to put in your notebook.
Could be a Queen double on the second day.
Yeah. So we'll move swiftly on to Thursday. And what always is the highlight of everyone's week, the Gold Cup. Stradivarius has obviously won the last 2 runnings of this race. He currently is the 10-11 favourite with Kew Gardens behind him at 7-2. He was beaten last on the weekend by Gaieth. It was a shorter trip over 1 mile 4. They're probably doing that just as an opener, as a trial race really for this. Can he do the treble? I would be against him with Kew Gardens, who I think showed what he's made of at the end of last year. Thoughts on Stradivarius winning the Gold Cup for the 3rd time, Andrew?
Well, yeah, I think he's got every chance myself. He's just a fabulous horse, and I think him win. He's had the benefit of that little run up in the Coronation Cup, and he ran very well. So yeah, I think they've got him to beat.
And you've got Dashing Willoughby. He obviously won very well on the weekend. He's actually in the betting for the Gold Cup at 20.
Is he? No, he definitely doesn't run there.
Okay, good to know. But he obviously was the winner at Ascot last year. Are you thinking of sending him
July meeting week
to something like the Hardwick? I thought maybe could be.
No, he won at the weekend, and we're just trying to space his race out, so he'll go to the July meeting for the Group 2 there.
Brilliant, good stuff. And thoughts from Richard and Huey on Stradivarius taking the Gold Cup again?
and anything else on the day?
Over to you,
I
Richard.
think he is an excellent. He's very good. But some days, I thought he'd every chance to win on Champions Day. I thought his comeback run was fine the other day, but is he the force of old? I don't know. He looked to me, a very good horse. I don't know if he is.
Yeah, I think he's vulnerable. I think he's not. It's very hard winning these races day in, day out. And they get a bit cuter as they get older, all these horses, don't they?
Yeah, and the horses, they get older, Huey, trying to keep them ticking over, keep them sweet. And John Gosden's no better person to do that with Stradivarius. I go against him.
What price is he, Jess?
10 to 11.
Oh, well, I'm backing with that price.
And currently in Kew Gardens 7-2. So I'm taking him on.
Yeah, there must be something down the line that might go. What's it worth, the race?
Well, at the moment, this year it's 250,000, which is a bit of a cut
Oh, look, he's
compared to years gone by.
Good haircut, you.
Yeah. No, she's trying to make my hair grow more.
Keep it up, Mary.
Won't cut my hair. She'll make it want it to grow more, like James's.
You'll be mistaken for someone nasty next.
And the Jersey Stakes is always an interesting race at Royal Ascot. Sometimes horses that didn't quite get the 1 mile in the Guineas will take the Jersey Stakes on. I thought Starcat ran a brilliant race for you, Huey, in the Guineas for a long way. Did this type of race enter your mind for him?
Well, no, we think he's probably a 1.25 mile horse. So,
okay.
That's
but, we felt, we wanted to have a go. So drawn where we were, we had to go forward. As as I think Richard probably found out, you dropped them in from that draw. You had no chance at all.
None.
So ideally, we'd have dropped him in. Just he's not a, he's a very relaxed horse, and he just enjoyed himself. And I'm glad to say PJ left him alone once he blew up coming down the hill. So he's more likely to go to a mile or a mile and a quarter next time. So I noticed some speed times which were quite interesting in at the races. That he did 58 seconds in the first 5 furlongs, which was quite frightening.
Yeah, hence why I thought he's all speed.
Well, he doesn't look like a sprinter. He's a big, angular, raw horse, and probably one shouldn't get tempted running next week. But then what else do you go for? It's very difficult to find other races in.
When's the French Derby? We can't go in for that.
That's early July.
I don't think any of us can plan our campaigns for horse until we going abroad. If we can't guaranteed we're going to be able to go there. So he's actually entered for the French Derby, but I suspect he'll end up going for something less than, which might be more to his liking. But he gave Andrew's horse a nice lead from about 20 yards.
Very
helpful.
Yeah, well, somebody had to help him make the right. Andrew's got he broke the track record. Somebody had to help him.
Yeah. Could take that when you win the Derby. Don't forget Starcat, what he did.
You won't be going to Derby. You can relax about that.
Okay. And what about for you, Richard? Are you obviously a Mum's Tipple, who would you think you're bringing him back in trip?
Yeah, he'll come back to 6 furlongs probably
For the Commonwealth? Yeah.
I'm going to enter Threat in the jersey as well.
Okay.
But he's probably more likely to go to the St. James Palace Day.
Very interesting. We'll keep an eye on that.
And we've mentioned before, Foxtail's going for the Wolverton. He'd have a bit of a chance. What price? Even know any prices?
No price for Wolverton yet, but this is one of Andrew's Foxtail for the Wolverton. So
one of your nicer horses.
He was 4th in the Champion Stakes last year. He's a horse we've always thought a lot of, and I'd hope a listed race with no penalties. I think he'd have every chance.
Good. Bright Devil. God, don't forget Bright Devil and the Chesham.
The Chesham is another one of the 2-year-old races, which is over a bit further, which Pinatubo won last year. It's a race that, interestingly, a lot of the 2-year-olds will be going to the more sprint type races, but the Chesham was kind of a question mark what type of horses would end up there. But we see Andrew, that Bright Devil, who was very impressive first time out Newmarket. You're thinking of stepping him up to that distance for possibly the Chesham?
The dam side allows him to run, does it?
Yeah, the conditions of the Chesham just mean there aren't as many horses eligible for it, and obviously those horses that have come out and won the majors aren't novices. There aren't that many that are qualified for Chesham, so he's sort of slightly found a niche there, hopefully. But I'm sure there'll be some very nice horses coming over from Ireland for it now that they're eligible to run in listed races. And look, but he's had a run and he won well, and fingers crossed the extra furlong should suit him well.
We met the young fella who named him on when was it?
On Sunday. Yeah, very well named by Dark Angel, and it was named Bright Devil because it's the exact opposite. So we like that. So Bright Devil will be one, definitely, whichever you just choose to go. Anything else for Thursday that stands out for the trainers?
Well, Starcat, if I was very brave, could run in either the Britannia or the Golden Gates, because he's been given a fair mark by the handicapper. So it's tempting to have a look at it anyhow. He's been rated 94.
Gosh. Interesting.
I thought we had to finish in the first 6, so it was quite a surprise when I saw he got a mark this morning.
Okay. Makes sense to give it a go. That seems like quite a nice rating for a horse that,
Because there are not many handicaps worth anything this year, are there? All the handicaps are sort of low grade, except for Ascot ones.
Yeah, the equivalent to Shergar Cup Day, which is rather sad, isn't it, really? Never mind. I hope they're going to be reinstated to where they should be. And it's not the thin end of the wedge.
We'll move swiftly on to Friday because I'm just conscious of the time. We've got Mum here keeping us moving. Thanks, Mum. So we'll move on to Friday. Things kind of hot up. A lot of the really good 2-year races come at the end of the week. We've got the Norfolk Stakes and the Albany, also the Commonwealth Cup. So we've already heard Richard looking to get Mum's Tipple into that, and it's likely, I'm just getting up the betting now, that Pierre Le Pan, who's Roger Varian's good, very nice fast horse, he's in that 5-1. Earthlight, who's a French horse, is 8-1, and Golden Horde is 10-1. Mum's Tipple is actually 12-1. So if he's going to suit getting Springbrook back and trip, and he repeats his 2-year-old form from York, it's quite not a bad price, really.
I think it's probably a little bit short on his run the other day, but tried to stop him, Jessica, to enable him to get the trip. And he hit the first sort of ridge, and after that he just not impacted. He stopped and he didn't very hard, and he's done that before on the rolling mile. So if you look at his runs on flat tracks, which have been Ascot and York so far, he's been pretty good. His Ascot Maiden worked out an extremely good race, and at York, you'll agree, he was pretty devastating. We're going to let him roll at Ascot. Yeah, let him, hit the gate.
And no ridges.
No, exactly. That's what I mean. It's exactly as he would like it. Very, very flat. It should suit him.
Good. Okay. Well, you never know. He might be one to put in your play spot too.
What about Pinatubo? Is he going to run on that? He looks like a sprinter.
They all look like sprinters after Saturday. They're all very quick.
But physically, he looks like a sprinter. He doesn't look like.
Well, you saw him in person, which we didn't, and we've all heard the rumours that he didn't really grow, or he hasn't turned into as impressive a 3-year-old as a 2-year-old. But it sounds like they're going to keep him at the same trip, and St James's Palace, which we'll get to on the Saturday. Before we get there, I know that there's another nice type from Andrews in the Queen's Vase, which we touched on earlier, which is Mark Scirocco.
Yeah. Yeah. Link-Bill Derby trial to English King, but I mean, you've obviously got he's a decent horse. He's obviously got a good line to camp with him, haven't you?
Yeah, he was a good third in the Zetland Stakes last year, and it's a horse we've always liked. He should stay. I mean, that was a good run in the Derby. I don't think he was necessarily stopping at the end. He was just beaten by a better horse on the day, and that run, he's had the advantage of a run. I'd hope he'd go there with a live chance in the Queen's Vase.
Is he a potential dashing Willoughby?
He's very similar type. The only thing is that we always thought this was his race, but we had nowhere to run him before, bar, under a fortnight before, which isn't ideal. Right? It's exactly a fortnight. Isn't ideal, but I think it was rather that than going there without a run.
Right. Going back to the Albany, Richard, you've got Cirrus. Is Cirrus going to go for the Albany?
Yes, I think she is. She ran a very good race the other day. She did a lot of the donkey work. She ran a super race. She's going to improve that. I thought the filly.
Do you know the winner right on the rising ground?
Yeah, the winner was going. But I'm not sure I'm mad about taking that on again, but I think it would definitely improve for that first run. She's pretty good and very classy.
Good. Okay. So Cirrus for the Albany Stakes for Richard Hannon. That's the one to put in your notebook.
So we'll move on unless there's anything else to flag up at this stage for Friday.
Have you looked at the racing? Anyone else? Anything else? That
I think Manigordo will have a very good chance in the He's a maiden.
Say the name again.
We can't hear you very well, Richard.
You're going to have to say it again.
Okay. Manigordo, Manigoro.
Manigordo. Manigordo. Yeah, we got it.
Yeah. Racing 98. I don't know if he'll get in, but he's still a maiden, which wouldn't be a great sign, admittedly, but he's a pretty decent horse and he's working very well.
Right, Manny Gordo.
Manny Gordo.
And
Okay.
everyone listening, we'll write all of these names down that we've flagged over the course of this evening and send it on to everyone as well. Right, we'll move on to Saturday, and probably the best day of the 5, considering we've got three Group 1s, 2 Group 2s. We've got probably the best of the 2-year-old races all on the Saturday as well. The standout race being St James's Palace. We touched on it. Obviously, Pinatubo was the standout 2-year-old of last year. He came into the Guineas on Saturday as the horse to beat, and he was beaten by Kameko. But the question is, can he come back and can he prove himself again? We won't have Kameko in the race. We probably will have Wichita, who was second, and perhaps we'll have Threat, who didn't go to the Guineas but has been weighted with for Ascot. And it's okay. You guys were there on Saturday. You saw what he was like. Do you think that he will come back, and do you think that he could win the St James's Palace?
Really think he goes sprinting.
Okay, over to Andrew first, or whoever wants to answer it.
I'd back Wichita to beat Pinatubo.
Really?
I'm with you, Hughie. I think he was clearly second best. There, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Third best, if anything.
You know, I'd fancy beating Pinatubo next time, to be honest. But if I had a fit start at, you know, I think he's vulnerable now.
Yeah, there's a big argument that Pinatubo would have been better with the Guineas that had been run on the 2nd of
May.
Yeah, I think the 2nd of January, maybe.
Yeah.
All right.
So you don't, yeah. So Wichita is currently 7-4.
Well, I think Andrew's horse would have beaten it last. You know, you would have. Andrew's horse would definitely beaten it at Newcastle last year.
In Newcastle, yes. You're drinking champagne. Did you see that?
I was going to say, what is he drinking?
Of course he is.
Is it in advance of the Guineas?
Yes.
Whiskey.
Yeah.
It's all we got in the fridge.
He's one
It's free glass from Newmarket Racecourse.
I should have come over and helped you drink that.
Champagne like water now.
Oh God, she's finished with it.
St James Palace Stakes. Fred will go very close. What price is he, Jessica?
Right is 10-1.
There you go.
There you go.
He worked super this morning. He's got a great chance.
Right. Okay.
Good. That's who we want to win.
That's we're on. We're on. Yeah. Threat.
Yeah. Well, and considering
No threat to Threat.
and considering
Go
Arizona, who was very disappointing, is just behind him at 14-1. He was very disappointing in the Guineas. I think he's overpriced. They're at 10-1. So get on now, Thurloe punters.
Get your value.
Get
on.
Get on.
Yeah.
I'm trying to have a bet. I can't get on.
No, it won't be 14 to 1. It'll be 35.
It's a pound minimum, Hughie.
What
minimum
on now?
I was going to have 50p each way.
The bowling's laughing because
They'll be running for the hills for that one.
And yeah, I want to know when Uncle Toby's running again, Andrew.
No, he's going to be a little bit of time off now.
Oh, he likes a break. He liked it. He liked his summers off, Tobes.
Yeah, he might have to go to Isla for the summer.
Yeah, he'd be stuck there. He might get savaged by Wicked Nicola.
The Wolves.
Yeah, they burnt it down when I was there.
And okay, so we covered St James Palace. We know he's winning that. He's won it plenty of times before, so Richard Hannon's going to win it again. Brilliant! Can't wait for that. Outside of it, obviously the 2-year races. Richard, you're a legend when it comes to 2-year races. Threat actually was second in the Coventry last year.
Yeah.
Who's gonna win it for you this year?
I've got a couple of horses, but I'm not going to rush them just to get there in 2 weeks. I've got a very nice horse called Ventura Tormenta. I'm not sure. I can't really go there with one first time out. I've got a very good cousin in Queen Mary with the Hidden Romance. And we had the other day.
Will Happy Romance get in all right, do you think?
Hey, Happy Romance.
Will she get in all right?
I'm not sure. A lot of these 2-year races are starting to be cut up, and there'll be no one this year running for the badges, will there? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So you might have a chance of getting in.
I mean, there's been a lot of people shouting and screaming about her at or East Everley, or was she at Herridge? I don't know, but
Definitely, but she missed the gate and she didn't get away from it very well. And she ran on without being beaten up, and she's a lot better than that. I've got another nice filly by No Never. That's encouraging, isn't it?
And what was her name? We lost you again there a little bit.
She doesn't have a name yet, but I will text you tomorrow, Jessica. She's
right.
apparently.
Well, that won't be
She's unnamed.
So, and I think it's interesting this year with the 2-year-olds. They've all got to have a run, and there's a balloting system, isn't there? So if you've won, you've got more of a chance of getting into the races, and you should go for it really. But with something like Happy Romance, who finished, where was she? Was she fourth? She was sixth.
Yeah.
Fifth.
So
she will improve massively. She has a very good chance. I think.
Good value rate. Good value. She could be good.
50 each way. You could probably buy her for that, judging on her last run. She's much better than that.
Right. Well,
Anyway,
we'll keep her in our notes.
Anything from the Wokingham?
Wokingham, yeah, the obvious ones, like the good handicappers. But will they get in this year? I don't know. Everybody will be gunning. They're all lightly raced. It's going to be a hard year. Very difficult, I think, to get in. But there is a silver Wokingham, isn't there?
Silver Wokingham as well. Yeah.
If you win one of the silver races, do they still count as Royal Ascot?
Of course
if I win them, obviously they will be, but
will be on mine.
Well, but you won't be. Yeah, no one will be there to enjoy it in the car parks afterwards.
But Pinatubo ought to go for it.
A little bit like the Invictus game.
Yeah. Pinatubo.
Get rid of him. Oh gosh.
Right, no, and then of course we end off with the Queen Alexandra, and is that a race you won?
I've got 4 for that.
I was going to ask you first. You've got 4 of you.
Hands do a relay.
How many hurdles in that ridiculous thing? It's a flat meeting. We have to see all those jump trainers there. They've had their day at Cheltenham.
I love that line. I remember that one. Yeah, Hannah's got 4 in it during a relay.
Yes, with a baton. 50. I mean, how many laps track is that?
Queen Alexandra is one of the most important races at Royal Ascot, in my opinion.
There's a man drinking champagne before 8 o'clock. You see, ridiculous race it is.
Andrew won the race last year with Cleonte, which was a very special moment with the Fox Power Group. So you're going to win it again this year?
Well, I think I've got a horse and half a chance called Nate the Great, who is a horse
called what?
Cheshire Branch Watson. Has recently come to us. He ran a nice race the other day at Newmarket. I mean, he's only rated 97, but that's sort of probably all you need to be to run well if you stay in a Queen Alexandra.
Nate the Great.
Nate the Great, everyone.
Yeah, well, you won't have the Willie Mullins top class hurdlers there, will you?
Yeah,
so
you beat them last year, Andrew, so you don't need them anyway.
Exactly.
Obviously a great day. We haven't even touched on the Diamond Jubilee. Hello Youmsay is currently 7-1 favourite. Space Blues, who won on the weekend, 8-1. So always sometimes horses go from the kick. Like last year there was Stand Diamond Jubilee double with Blue Point. Is anyone any opinions or any runners in the Diamond Jubilee?
Yeah, I've got a horse called Shine So Bright who runs there, who I've been very pleased with just recently. He's a very smart horse on his day when fresh. So the fact that he hasn't had a run is to his advantage, I'd say, as long as we get there in one piece. He worked at Kempton's, I was really pleased with him. He won the handicap first time out last year, and he also won the City of York after a long break. So he is a horse who goes well fresh. Ran well in a Coventry as a 2-year-old. Yeah, I think he'd go there with a live each way chance.
Nice. So bright. Is there any betting for this?
Yeah, he's 16-1. We've got some nice prices with Brett winning the St James Palace at 10-1. That's quite a nice double. And then Nate the Great at the end. We don't have price for that. It was a good treble on the day.
Oh, so, can I ask Richard if he's running Cloak of Spirits in the Coronation?
That's the plan at the moment. I thought I got away with that.
You got away with that.
Oh, there we go. There's 4. God, we've got Saturday's going to be our day. hold all bets until Saturday. So
We may as well go through the card.
may as well.
Well, you think you're running your filly, Hughie?
Yes.
Well, until I saw actually the latest program, there's nothing else for these fillies. A mile or mile and a quarter around. You know, if you're trying to win a group race, there's not much around. So you sort of take your chances when you can. And, you know, Richard, as I was Andrew's sort of lead horse last week, perhaps Richard could be mine next weekend.
Very good.
Hilarious. Right, that's it.
Now, why could you find your own lead horse?
Yeah.
That's true. You still get bollocking anyway, whoever made the running, I say, you.
Brilliant. Well, we've got a few winners on Saturday anyway.
We've got them all written down.
What we'll do, I know that we've gone through a lot of horses, is we'll write every horse down that we've mentioned underneath this and send it on to everyone so no one misses anything, because there's a lot to cover. Before we end up, guys, we wanted to touch on some horses that very sadly are not going to be at Royal Ascot, but they're still very special to us, and will be one day, won't they?
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll start off, maybe go left to right. We've got Achilles, our 2-year-old, with Andrew, and Dream Round as well, just below, who runs tomorrow. How are you? How are our fillies with you, Andrew?
Well, Achilles is done very well. I mean, mentally she's calmed down a lot. She's a little bit fuzzy when she first came in, but I'm really pleased with her. She's put on weight. She's doing well. She just has got some slight juvenile changes in her joints. So I said to James the other day, I just think she could do with another month cantering away in the routine without doing anything faster than just cantering. And then we'll have another little look then. But she's sweet filly, and you know, genuinely looks the part now. Physically, it's just the joints and it's just a little immature still. And Dream Round is great. It's not my first choice of where we'd go with her, but I just think in the circumstances, getting a run is fantastic, and getting a run on a synthetic surface is better than running her on firm ground. So hopefully she'll cope with the twists and, you know, the tight turns at Wolverhampton. That's not a concern, but I'm really pleased with the way she's moving, and if she can just shape up with some promise tomorrow, I'd be delighted.
So ideally, we want to look at
Did he do the washing up or something?
Yeah, no.
He's got his servants around him, Andrew, and his champagne.
I thought it was James.
Yeah, I wouldn't be any wash. I wouldn't be doing any washing up.
Right.
Dream Round runs tomorrow at Wolverhampton for us. She's been bounced out, I think, was it 3 or 4 times? So yes, as Andrew says, very excited to see her back after a while off the track.
Very quickly, Andrew, but ideally she wants a little bit of cut in the ground and a mile.
It does, but I would say, I mean, it's difficult to know what we're taking on tomorrow, but if she was a big double-figure price, I would have a little bit each way on her, because she's certainly not devoid of ability. And as I say, if it was a straight track on good soft ground, I would say definitely have a bit each way on her, but I'm worried about the nature of the track for not so much the surface, but the nature of the track. So, but anyway, we've got to get the ball rolling and get going.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just checking what her price is. I'll try and have a look at see what she is. And then moving on to Richard, you've got the other 2-year-old by Day, who's had quite a nice start.
He's had a very good start.
He's had a very good start.
And you can have this guy go. He will take time, which is nothing wrong with that. He's a very nice horse, lovely attitude, moves very well. Obviously, when he's right, we'll get stuck into him and see what we've got. But up until right now, he's a very nice colt, and you'd like him a lot. But he's got a fair way to go.
Okay, that's fine. No,
that's fine. And then you can see, actually, looking at the pictures, comparing him to Tahitian Prince, how these horses develop and mature. Obviously, Tahitian Prince, a big, burly 3-year-old colt, who looks so stunning in that picture.
He's a lovely colt.
How is he?
Yeah, he's doing very well. We had that slight setback. He's back cantering now and doing very well. He looked great. You know what I think of him? I was very disappointed with his run, and I slightly felt some of your syndicate members thought, oh yeah, I don't see much to be excited about. But I thought he would run much better than that. He didn't, but his second run, he looked a very useful animal, and that was a good race. And treat him like a good horse until he proves otherwise. And when he's ready, he's going to be a very nice colt. I love the stallions, Tierney. I think they're in good shape.
Good stuff.
I think he could be he's a nice prospect. He's got a lovely.
He is for sure.
He's got a attitude, a lovely way of doing everything, isn't he? I think that's what I like about him.
And then on to Huey. So R2 with you, born leader. She's obviously, we've had to be very patient with her, but she's in good form with you at the moment.
Yeah, she's coming on nicely, and you know, she might surprise us all in the autumn. You know, she's always struggled with her knees, but hopefully, touch wood, they're good at the moment, and she could, you know, she's a lovely big mare, moves well when those aren't hurting, haven't been an issue, and hopefully we can make hay in the autumn.
Do you think she's on a reasonably nice handicap mark now?
Yeah, I think she's well handicapped for her ability. Yeah, she's always shown, you know, she's a good-looking mare. She's a nice-looking mare. She just needs a bit of luck, really.
Yeah.
Keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And with respect, you know, lovely horse. We're hoping to run him in the spring. I think I sort of a bit of deja vu hearing what Rich was saying about King of Change, and he's juiced in the ground, ready to train him and to run him. And we probably had him ready for the Greenham meeting, and it was going to be soft that day, and we didn't get it. And, you know, he just doesn't enjoy the dry ground, whether it's a dry or weather or dry grass. So we're going to probably have to wait till later in the year. And if we get a summer like last year, he could be out in August, September. But we need some rain to train him, really.
Yeah. All in all, we've got some lovely horses to look forward to that need the right conditions. We've been unlucky with having to wait a little bit, and as you say, Huey, it would have been perfect had the Greenham happened when it should have been, but we'll just have to be a little bit more patient.
It's not probably been there.
And yeah, exactly. But look,
anyway,
we gave it over to Kameko. Brilliant. We're going to before we end, we're just going to check. We're just going to see any questions from some of our syndicate members and see if they're. I'll just stop sharing this and just see if there are any questions that come up. Yes, we've got 3 questions. We have got William Claxton Smith. Are the handicaps going to have full size fields or still be limited to 12 runners?
Full size, I think.
Full size.
Fields are 24, I think.
Full size 24. That's
Yeah, I think they're full size. Full size. Yes, I know.
That's not full size. It's maximum 24. Usually you get two in a
maximum 24.
Yeah.
Okay.
24.
And is that just for Royal Ascot, or beyond that will it go back to the 12 limit?
Just for Royal Ascot, and then for the following week it's 12 at regular meetings apart from group and listed races.
Brilliant. And Jeff Randall says, for Andrew Balding, Kameko was another success for Kitten's Joy. Was it that these Ramsey stars put in their progeny, and do they need to be trained in a specific way?
I don't know. He's the only Kitten's Joy I've had, but he's been extraordinary. I mean, I think if he'd stood in Europe, Kitten's Joy, he would have been champion sire for the last 5 years. I mean, you think what he's done with his runners in America, and some of those have been having to go around on the dirt as well. Extraordinary sire. The only one I've had, so I couldn't really tell you.
Yeah. Oh, you might be getting some more now. Fabulous horse. Very excited for you. And Richard Hartley's asked, due to some of the sound quality of sound, yeah, that's Richard Hannon's laptop. He needs to improve. He needs to get a laptop upgrade. Will you be
getting a bollocking from the lawyers here? Typical QCs.
Will you be circulating an email with a list of all the tips mentioned during the webinar? Richard Hartley, of course we will. And I'll be calling you personally.
Richard Hartley's got a great story to tell.
Unless there's any other questions, which I can't see coming through, Dad and I will stay on, and we'll turn this into more of a Zoom meeting so that we can all see each other and chat away. But otherwise,
you can stay on if you want to, boys and girls.
My stuff is waiting.
That's a no.
You've had enough of us, have you?
Well done, boulders. That's my boy.
More champagne to pour.
It's been an hour already.
I think you both better get off and do your
Thank you very
homeschooling
much,
with your
Andrew.
children.
Yes, homeschooling. Yes, quite correct.
Thank you.
Lot of work.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
lot of
much.
work.
Welcome, everybody.
I want to see you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.